Hello, my name is Megan Burns. I'm giving my research presentation for Morningside College in EDUC 699. I did my research on examining the effects of direct vocabulary instruction to help improve reading scores for students in special education. I am currently a teacher in special ed. This is my 6th year, and I'm finishing my 4th year at my current high school. Let's look at my problem statement. According to Beach et al., there is a need for direct vocabulary instruction, especially in the area of special education. And students in special ed really struggle to maintain or retain new information, according to Al-Nahani in 2015. Who am I looking for my project? I'm looking for students in high school and who currently have an IEP, specifically in the area of reading. I also was looking for students who were significantly behind their grade level peers. So what that means is they were at least 2 years or more behind. So if they were a sophomore, I wanted students who were 8th grade, reading at 8th grade level or lower, as an example. And then I also used my intervention to progress monitor my students on a weekly basis. Okay, let's look at the research that was out there for this area. There's a ton of research on reading interventions, and so that was very easy to find. There is a huge need for research to be done in the area of vocabulary instruction. And so that was good. And I also found that struggling readers, according to Boulay 2015, really lack skills to become proficient readers. So my goal is to hopefully, throughout this project, was to hopefully make my students more proficient in reading. What were the suggestions for more research to be done? There was a lot of research that suggests that research needs to be done in vocabulary, especially in the area of direct instruction. So perfect for me as a special ed teacher trying to increase student reading goals and make them more proficient. Just go down here. One thing I wanted to touch on too, the impact I was looking for was to increase, with the use of the vocab instruction, to increase student reading scores. Okay, let's move on to goals and objectives. The purpose of my research project was to determine whether or not the direct vocabulary instruction could increase student reading scores. My tool to use was the direct vocabulary instruction from the research that I had found, and I also was going to use the Jamestown reading assessment, which is just a weekly reading passage and a 10-question comprehension quiz. My hypothesis was that this intense vocabulary instruction would increase each student's overall reading achievement level. Okay, independent variable, the direct vocabulary instruction, and my dependent variable, the student assessment results. Each student would take the quiz, a 10-question comprehension quiz, and that would be my dependent variable. And then also using the measurement device of the assessment to help with the dependent variable score. Looking for my quantitative research to determine the impact of the instruction and how it affects their reading comprehension scores. Possible impact is that the study can help make instructional decisions for teachers and create a teaching model that they can use with their students in the classroom. And then I would also have more knowledge that could be helpful for me as I continue with my teaching career. Okay, let's get to my methods. Fun stuff. Okay, so I picked 5 students that were in my high school, 3 sophomores and 3 juniors. So again, they are at least 2 years behind their peers, and 3 of those 5 students were males, 2 of those students were females, 3 of those 5 students were Caucasian, 1 Hispanic, and 1 African American student. They were picked because they each have a reading goal, and they're on my own roster for their IEP. The instruction that they received from this design was all coming from me and in our classroom. Materials, again, Jamestown Reading Assessment, and they each got a student notebook, which becomes important when we talk about the procedure, which I didn't mean to skip. Let's talk about procedure. Okay, so I picked an AB model because for 16 weeks because I wanted to use as much time as I possibly could to see if that would make an impact or not on their reading scores. Students in special ed, they tend to going back to the lit review, they tend to struggle to retain new information. So I thought the longer time we can take, the better, or hopefully better score I would get from that. So the first 4 weeks during my first A phase, was just regular instruction. They didn't receive any direct instruction. At the end of the week, we would do the Jamestown Reading Assessment, which was just 1-page reading article that each student would read, and then on the back they would take a 10-question comprehension quiz, and it was all based on comprehension, no vocab content. Then we moved into what I thought was more fun, which was the first B phase or first treatment phase. That consisted of 20 minutes of daily instruction from me. So what we would do is we would write in our notebook each word that was picked by me that actually I looked at the reading passage they would get from the end of the week. Each week they would get a new reading passage, so they were not reading the same reading passage. So I would look and pick a new word each day of that treatment phase week. We would break the word down from that reading passage. We would look at prefix, we would look at suffix from that word, we would write out the meaning of the prefix, the meaning of the base word, the meaning of the suffix, really dig into the word and the meaning, write out the definition of the word, come up with our own definition, and then we would use that word in a sentence. All of that together, they would write that down, we would talk about it for 20 minutes, and then at the end of the 20 minutes, we would go back to just our regular instruction. At the end of the week, they would get their reading assessment or reading passage, read through that, and then answer the 10 questions. So the 10 questions were never about content of vocabulary, it was all about content of their reading passage. And then after that 4 weeks, we went back to an A phase again, where the students were not getting direct instruction. They were just receiving no direct instruction, just regular other instruction. And then at the end of the week, they would get their reading passage. I would record their scores. After that set of weeks, we would go into the last treatment phase. Again, going back to the same model that we used in the first treatment phase, where we were getting 20 minutes of direct vocabulary instruction. And then at the end of the week, where they would read their reading passage and then answer the 10 questions. The data analysis I used, just progress monitoring, possible points that they could receive on each quiz were 10. So that was that. Okay, let's see if what my hypothesis, if it worked or not. Here are my results from comparing the baseline phase to the treatment phase. So if we look here, I've got my baseline phase, my mean score, so all the students together averaged a score of 4 during the baseline phase from the Jamestown reading assessment with a standard deviation of 1. And then during my treatment phase, students averaged a score of 5.8 with a standard deviation of 1.1. Here is a table just giving results for a paired samples t-test with a t-result of negative 4.81, degree of freedom of 4, p-value 0.01, and my Cohen's d negative 2.15. So what does this mean? Well, if we look at just the means section, we could say that my hypothesis was supported because students averaged a score of 4 on their quizzes during the baseline phase, and during the time when they were receiving direct instruction, they averaged a score of 5.8. So that is good, and that would say that my hypothesis was supported and confirmed. When you look back here, my p-value and my t-value, since my p-value is so small with my t-value of 4.81, you could assume that that my results should be tested further because my p-value is so small and my t-value is what it is negative 4.81. So what that could imply is that we really need to see more results from this study that I did. How can that impact teachers? What needs to happen is there needs to be more research done. However, what my research study could say is that it's a good starting off point for teachers to use in the classroom. Since I did see positive results or good results from my hypothesis, and I confirmed that it was supported. My teaching strategy that I used in the study could be used in the classroom, and the impact that it would have on students is that they would hopefully increase their reading ability and increase that reading deficit or make it smaller. Limitations that I had, obviously my sample size was very small with only 5, and I only targeted students that had reading goals. So that was a limitation as well, and they were significantly behind. That was another limitation. Time was a limitation. I would have loved to have had more time, but it is what it is. And then my classroom, just daily classroom interruptions and distractions could have caused the students to maybe not score so well. So there you go. What are my recommendations for future research? Well, if you look back here at my p-value and my t-value, there needs to be more research done to make this a model research design for teachers. However, it still could be used. There needs to be more research done in the area of direct instruction. There needs to be more research done in the area of vocabulary to see if this would be a good model for students to increase their reading scores, and if vocabulary really does do that. And then there should be more research done across multiple learning levels, not just in high school. There should be more research done in middle school and in elementary. So that would be a good thing. And here are my references. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation and you learned something. Thank you.